All right. Yeah, well, that was a lovely performance, by the way. It sounded
Thank
really
you.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have that in our studio.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess we wanted to talk about your instruments and like your setup. And yeah, we were all curious about that instrument right there. Sounded really cool.
Yeah, that's an omnichord. It's a digital version of like the old one, which was like from the 60s or whatever, which was like an analog instrument. Um, this one specifically is called the Q chord, and it's by Suzuki, and it pumps out MIDI sounds, but it has like a slider bar, and it also has buttons for each of the chords, and it makes it's a pretty good beginner instrument because you've got chord slide, chord slide, chord slide. And so my spouse got it for me for Christmas, and I was like, I guess I'm writing songs on this now.
That's so cool. Nice. Yeah, so I guess when did you start? Um, did you start like by just getting equipment? How was that
I
process?
started composing when I was 13. I was on a family trip uh, to my great grandma's, and I was bored because it was like in the middle of nowhere in like, what is that, Santa Maria or whatever, like Central California. And she had a piano, and I like wrote my first song on that piano like while I was bored with like no one my age and just like in the middle of nowhere. And since then I've been writing music, and I feel like I didn't get started with what I'm doing now for reals until 2017 or 2016 when I like got my first full-time stable job that like paid decently.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, so you studied music in
Yeah,
college.
yeah. I studied music composition, and that's what I got my degree in. And I knew basically in high school that that's what I was gonna go to college for. So
Wow.
there was no changing my major or anything. Like it's been that like this whole time.
Wow. How was that then for your experience in academia and music?
Um, it was good and bad. When I first left, I didn't like it at all because academia isn't really that interested in popular styles of music. They call all of it pop music, and that is what I wanted to do. Is I wanted to be on the stage and perform and write my own songs. But they only had like film scoring or media scoring and like classical orchestral music, and that was it. And kind of a segue between the two that helped me get through it was discovering like noise music and stuff that whatchamacallit, like generative music, and
Yeah.
learning Maximus P. I was a part of the first laptop ensemble that they put together, and so we would all write max patches and we would perform pieces together, and that was basically how I survived academia was through that kind of electronic music. It was like the only thing that like truly clicked with me. Because I didn't really care for very many other things.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that. Yeah. I feel like it's the same at UC Davis. It's very
Yeah.
much like the music composition, and then there's like the electronic
Yeah.
sound collage type of, yeah, sound designer, which is
Yeah.
really cool. But
It's pretty similar around the country. I've talked to a lot of people from a lot of different schools, and it was great when I would talk to someone in school because I would be like, "This is how it is. Like, you just need to get through this. Don't worry about what they're saying. They want to keep you in academia. Don't listen to them." Uh, but what was I gonna say? Well, I already lost my train of thought. But yeah.
nice. Did you have any experiences like that were like really challenging that kind of are
Um,
important to you now from those times?
Man, they just didn't click with what I was doing. Like, I felt like we just weren't speaking the right language, and I don't know. I also had to learn how to mix and master and do and produce and stuff all on my own after I graduated college. So it was really frustrating because they teach you how to write for ensembles, but when you graduate college, you're not going to have an ensemble anymore.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go and buy orchestral libraries because I'm not going to go and just invest $1,000. I would rather buy like this ukulele and stuff. So that's what I did. I started buying a bunch of Like, as soon as I had money, I started buying, like, a bunch of little things, because I'm little, and with Maximus P, I could make anything sound gigantic, so it really didn't matter what I got. Uh, but I lost my train of thought again. Oh, yeah, so the pandemic struck, and a lot of music departments realize, or I don't know if they realize, but they were all of a sudden tasked with having to learn equipment right away. And that's really funny to me because, like, they had the ability to teach everybody how to mic their own instruments and use a DAW and, use an interface and stuff like back in the day. And as soon as the pandemic hit, all of a sudden they needed all these things that they kind of didn't account for before, even though that's like what modern music is. And I'm hoping that things can change with all of that because I kind of had like a touchy experience with it. I got a lot of good things out of it. Like, I learned about noise music, and that, like I said, that changed me, but also I just didn't click with a lot of it.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, for how does your identity and like expression, how was that during, because I feel like, yeah, in an academic world, they don't really express. I don't know how much they stress on that at the time.
I wasn't out until 2017, really. I was too scared because I went from student to like intern to like assistant after assistant after assistant job, and I just didn't want to tell anyone that I was non-binary, and I just figured I'd be in the closet forever. But like the word non-binary came, like I considered myself bigender, and the word eventually happened, and I came across it like after years of calling myself bigender. Uh, and it wasn't until I was in a comfortable spot where I was sure I wasn't going to be fired, or I wasn't going to have to go back to another like lower job, that I was like, okay, I feel better about coming out now. And also it was more accepted, sort of. There were more people out when I started like being more open about it. But in college, it was almost all men in the music composition department, and people who weren't men were typically in education.
Hmm.
Uh, I think there were 4 of us that were not, out of like 30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And there were certain points where it was just 2 of us. And most of them were white. And all of them were like upper class. Like, I come from like a poor background. So it was just a whole alienating experience in every way. And that the fact that I was queer, and the fact that I wasn't white, and the fact that I was not from a like higher background, I had to learn how to code switch and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And how do you think that experience, like, to like where you are now, like how was that transformation of like being able to express yourself and like having that actually a part of your performance, and like how was that experience?
It took so long for me to come around and be myself because of the whole, I guess, code switching thing. I was so used to being interpreted as rude, so for years I spent so much time focusing on not being rude, to eventually, like, I minimized myself, and that was hurting me. And like, no matter what, people are going to interpret you or me or anybody the way they want to, and I had to learn to like just not care.
Yeah.
And that eventually led me to this, and I got more involved in social issues, and all of that eventually just made me be like, you know what, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. My first experience seeing your music was during NorCal Noise Fest. I think it was an audio waffle, but it was the
Audio
first
waffle,
one
yeah.
during the pandemic. It was like the first week or something. So that was really cool. And I, yeah, I definitely like, I understand because I feel like nowadays it's still like that. It's still like largely white males
Yeah.
dominated, and it's like
Yeah.
navigating that space as a
Yeah.
queer POC. It's like
Yeah.
there's a lot of things like affecting you, and that's cool that like yeah to see you like coming out to these spaces that are still like largely like that. Like NorCal Noise Fest is definitely changing, but yeah, slowly but surely it's like
Yeah.
getting more diverse and representing our
Yeah.
yeah.
Despite the fact that NorCal Noise Fest is like mostly white dudes, it's probably the most polite group of white dudes I've ever seen. Like, if I'm in a space like that, I'm like guaranteed like at least there's gonna be 3 or 4 creeps, and it's gonna drive me nuts. And zero creeps. And that
Yeah.
was very shocking to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, yeah.
I it's sad that I expect that, but like it's
Yeah,
still
no.
still a pretty chill space. I don't know.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, it's always like so surprising. You're like, oh, no one bothered me today. So
Yeah,
I feel
exactly.
that.
I'm like, whoa, you're talking to me about music?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so then you started working for Cartoon Network. What was that experience like?
So, my last semester of college, through me going to a bunch of cons and asking questions at panels, it somehow led me to getting an internship at Nickelodeon. And I was already burnt out of music at that point. So I was like, you know what? I think I want to be an animation writer. So I got the internship. I still continued to write songs because I was like, I can incorporate songwriting into this. Um, and I was burnt out of music, so I didn't like think about this whole like independent artist thing back then. And so I just like networked like crazy, and I eventually became a PA at DreamWorks TV. This was like 2 years. No, I got a job in reality TV, doing audio, and then a few months later, I got hired at DreamWorks, and then Cartoon Network was my dream studio. So I worked at DreamWorks for like a year and a half ish, and then I got hired at Cartoon Network, and I stayed there for 5 years. And by the time I got to Cartoon Network, I was already over my my short-lived animation writer dream, and I was back like loving music again because I was through that space away from college. It was maybe like 4 years. I finally like realized myself more, and I figured out what I wanted to do.
Hmm. That's awesome. Yeah. So you worked on how many productions with Cartoon Network? I guess
Over
was that?
20.
Wow.
Yeah. If you include all the shorts,
Yeah.
yeah, my IMDb is pretty long, but it's all the same position. It's all post-production assistant.
Oh wow. So then how much like creative freedom did you have as an artist?
0.
Yeah.
I was just an assistant.
Okay, yeah. That's interesting. That's cool though. So like how was like yeah, like having the dream of being at the studio space like and then actually doing it like
Man, it was really trippy for a while, and then it was trippier towards the end when it just became normal, because I was like, whoa, I worked so hard to like just get to this point, and now I'm just like whatever.
yeah.
um One of my favorite things about animation is that if you're doing a day job and you're doing something creative outside of it, usually your day job isn't creative, so the people you're around aren't creative, and they influence your inner thoughts, and they influence your own behavior. And I feel like that's the way people kind of get stuck. Whereas when I was in animation, people were constantly hustling, like pitching their projects. Even when they weren't doing those sorts of things, they were making their own things. Or there were people who were just exhausted, not making their own stuff. Like, I got to watch heartbreak up close, I got to watch people burn out. So I got to see, like, the negative and the positives of like trying to make it in entertainment. And it was just it's like a really great group of people to be around because like I said, it changes like your focus, and it makes you realize that maybe these things are possible. I don't know. I know there's a lot of access issues, but being around those people was very helpful for me. And also they're not going to be like, oh, you know what you should do? You should get a job in accounting. Like my aunt, she works at the IRS, and I had just gotten hired at Cartoon Network, and she's like, you should get into accounting. It pays a lot. And I was like, noted, okay.
Yeah, my dad calls me every once in a while to let me know that too.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, that's interesting to like see like the difference of like working in an artistic field, and like also making your own music.
Yeah.
So then like what led you to like fully submerge into the independent artist life?
It started with me doing these jam sessions with one of my friends that works in animation, and um eventually like I started making my own stuff, and I would put like little snippets on YouTube, and they were like the easiest max patches I had ever written because I had just bought the subscription, and I wasn't as good as at singing or playing or doing anything because I was like just starting again after years of not doing it. But a lot of friends from back in college liked what I was doing, and they were like, hey, do you want to play this show? Hey, do you want to play this show? So all of a sudden, I started having to write material for shows. And this was all just from like six, or not six. Yeah, it was like 6 months of like posting stuff on Instagram, like just little short videos. I managed to get like a year's worth of gigs, even though I had never played live before. And it was just from friends being like, "Oh, have you tried doing this?" And then at shows, people being like, "Oh, you should play here." And yeah, that's when I started getting more serious about it because I had this momentum going, and I was all like, "There's no reason to just back out now. Just let's just see where it goes." And I had like no goals or anything. It was just like, yeah, this is fun. I'm feeling this. Let's just keep going.
That's so cool. Yeah. I guess like I lost my train of thought just thinking about that. Yeah, I guess that is like just like yeah, the collaboration process just
Yeah.
kind of like takes you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it was just
where you
kind of
go.
like it snowballed. There was never like me sitting and being like, "All right, it's time to be an artist."
Yeah.
It was just doing little things and then being pulled into commitments, and then that snowballed. And eventually I started getting pulled into like media, or specifically video game composition stuff, because I met people that do that full time. So I started getting pulled into that, and now I'm getting pulled into collabs and that. So it just constantly feels like the snowballing effect. The only time it like stopped was during the pandemic, and everything started rearranging. But it feels like things are starting to
Go back.
go well, not go
Not even-
back, but everything has realigned itself in a way that works with the time
Yeah.
we're
Snowball's about to
yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, so the snowballs starting up
Sending.
again.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so then I guess you can talk about your experience during the pandemic. Is that
Um
cool stuff?
so I felt like the luckiest person in the world because I had already been Twitch streaming for like how many months by then? I want to say like 4 or 5 months by then. So I was like, "All right, I got a head start in this." So I tried streaming a lot and I burnt out on that. So but me and a friend, we ended up making this like monthly live stream show for like experimental electronic artists, and they were all queer or had marginalized genders or were POC or like a mix of all. Like basically no straight white dudes allowed or no cis white dudes allowed. Cuz I don't think we ever had any gay white people. Like we want to put the emphasis on marginalized gender and also like make sure that it was just people who were underrepresented in the experimental electronic space. And we did that for like a year, basically until people started getting vaccinated and we wanted to go outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that was the first thing I've heard that's been like that, and like especially during the pandemic, like that was really cool, great opportunity. Yeah, I was lucky to perform there, and an amazing group of people. It was like so supportive, and yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
I was very happy to see that.
Yeah, like the pandemic just felt like misery the whole time. Like I have no memory of 2020 except for intermission probably.
those are my highlights. Those were like my saving points.
Yeah, that
Definitely.
was the only time I was all like, man, maybe things are gonna be okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I I agree. Yeah, just being able to like talk and chat to other artists like
Yeah.
that too, like during their performance, that was really definitely a benefit during the pandemic for me.
Yeah, exactly. It helped a lot, and I got to like, I have new music to listen to now, so that's cool too. Like just from like a fan perspective.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I guess yeah, about like your identity and like I don't know, like because I love how you like do your setup too, and like I love the like the goth themed. That's so cool. Is that like your normal thing, or is like yeah?
Yeah, that's how I. So the way I describe my music, it took me forever to like have an like artist description or whatever because I was like too stuck in like the way academia does it, like a multidisciplinary artist from Los Angeles, California. But the way I like to describe myself is noisy goth acousto-electric musician. So, oh, gender fluid degenerate. That's okay to say.
It is.
Those are so noisy goth electroacoustic. Those are like the three things that come up in how I approach genre, and they're not like exact genres, but like that's basically where my headspace is most of the time.
Yeah, that's a good description. Yeah, the words. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a really hard thing for an artist. That's something
Yeah.
I've noticed.
I just I just need to get like a full album out. That way I could just have like I don't know, press of some sort give me a label so I can just stick to whatever that is. Cuz it's so hard when you're first starting out cuz then you don't know what your labels are and you don't feel like you fit because usually we don't we usually like new artists that are just starting from the beginning, they don't have as direct genre as like people who are later in their careers.
Yeah.
It,
Sorry.
I was gonna say it. I like heard it has something to do with when you're first starting out, you're trying to copy a genre, but you're really bad at copying it, and what you end up doing is you end up making a unique sound, and that's the thing that people fall in love with. And then by the third album, you end up hitting the genre you were intending, and that's when people are like, "Boo, you're not as good anymore." And I don't remember where I heard that, but
That's so funny.
it like opened my eyes.
That's very yeah. I feel that yeah. I guess like what kind of direction do you want to go, and like do you have album like are you
I
planning?
want to I want to go more. I don't want to say more poppy. I want to add beats. I just want it to be harder a
Hmm.
little bit. I feel like I'm doing all this ethereal stuff, and I still want to do it, but I really want beats more. I really want beats, and I really want to get. I like the second to the last song I did, and I feel like that's more the direction I want to go. Maybe even like harder than that. I don't know.
Do you have any plans for a full album or?
So I want to put, or I'm going to put an EP out. Um, the announcement is going to come this month for date. I don't have an exact date yet, but the announcement for the date will be this month. Um, so the second and the last song I played, where I put the sunglasses on and stuff, that song is called "Pay No Mind," and that's going to be out soon. Um, the EP is called, what is the EP called? The EP is called "Escape the Land of Despair,"
Ooh.
and yeah, I'll have an announcement for that EP later this month. And "Pay No Mind," three of the songs are gonna be on there. The first one that I played is called "Better Weather," "Pay No Mind," and the last one, the flute one. That one's called "I Want to See the Angels," and all three of those are gonna be on there. There's gonna be one more song that I didn't play.
Nice. I don't know. Do you want to talk about like maybe your influences and yeah?
Um, so I think the biggest influence I have that kind of like really changed the way I approach music is um, when I was in college, Sufjan Stevens' album Age of Ads came out, And after that, I was just never the same. And I feel like I always take from that album because it had a bunch of orchestral instruments, but it was still like noisy and weird and like really harsh electronics. And then it could also be really beautiful and sad. And that aesthetic feels like all of me. Like it just feels like how I've always been. And that's probably like my number one influence. But I also like as a kid, I was really into new metal and industrial rock, so those are really big influences. I was really into mindless self-indulgence. And now I'm listening to like Shy Girl and Chloe and Halle and like a bunch of R&B and pop and stuff. So those are probably like my influences right now. The whole EP was about uh 2017 through 2018 when I was having trouble getting therapy and how difficult the uh, mental health institution was hard to navigate. Like, it was really hard to navigate, especially while I was suffering. So, like, the EP revolves around my experience with that. And then also job woes and existential worries because existential worries while being on the job and having to like still focus on the job while thinking about the world burning down.
Yeah.
So it's all about mental health stuff.
Wow. That's really cool that you can, yeah, put that into actual like
Yeah.
tech. Yeah. And like express that to people too. I feel like that's something that you can like almost hear in like your music too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like a healing like vibe for
Yeah.
sure.
So I stream every week on Twitch. Um, I go by TVMA Noise on Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I stream every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And this month, I'm going to be scoring old horror films, starting with Nosferatu. So I'm excited with that.
Wow.
Yeah, so I do like a bunch of little music experiments. Eventually, I'm going to be streaming Maximus P, patch making again. And sometimes I play background music, especially when I'm programming. And yeah, and then my EP announcement is going to be this month. The EP might come out this month. I'm not sure yet. But the announcement's going to be this month for sure. And that one is called Escape the Land of Despair. That's the official name of my EP. And so yeah, just look out for that announcement. I'm at TVMA Noise on everything. Uh, except Bandcamp. Bandcamp, tvma.bandcamp.com. You can find me on streaming. Yeah, I'm also working on games, which eventually I'll give the announcement for all those games I'm working on.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, everyone should check out their music and either buy it on Bandcamp or yeah, see their streaming and yeah, it's really cool. You're doing really cool stuff. I feel like this generation's gonna be excited.
Yeah.
Especially yeah, in the station. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I feel like this is the perfect time for me to be emerging or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel good.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
and
thank you
being
for inviting me.
yeah, I'm glad you came out. It's perfect timing. So, yeah, that was
Cool.
great. Yeah, KDVS 90.3 FM. Check out our YouTube, and this will be posted. Follow and like and subscribe. That too.